The following is a paid program. The views and opinions expressed don't necessarily reflect those of NCI-FM.
Welcome to Speaking Up with Jessica Dumas. I'm a certified life coach that specializes in business, leadership, and all things speaking and confidence mindset. Let's chat. Hey, NCI friends. Thanks so much again for allowing me to spend some time with you here in these radio waves. Today, we're going to talk about entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is one of my favorite things to talk about. I absolutely love it. It's a scary journey, but it's one that if you take it, you will, well, I was going to say you will never regret it, but that might not be completely accurate. But I have a guest with me today. His name is Noah Wilson, and we're going to talk about entrepreneurship if you're 39 and under, and how the organization that he's working with, Futurepreneur, how they can help. So welcome, Noah. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks so much for being here. So tell us about your work. Who do you work with? And yeah, what do you do?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So again, my name is Noah Wilson. I'm our Senior Business Development Manager for our Indigenous Entrepreneur Startup Program at Futurepreneur, where we support entrepreneurs between the ages of 18 and 39 in their pre-launch, so meaning that they haven't launched their business yet or their early stages of their business, businesses that have been operating full-time less than 12 months. So really the businesses that have a tough time finding financing to get their businesses to the stage where they need to get to be sustainable. So essentially my role is to help Indigenous entrepreneurs across Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Nunavut access our startup capital, which goes up to $60,000 if you're looking for a full-time startup, or if you have a part-time business, or maybe you don't want to jump into a business full-time. We do have a side hustle program that you can access up to $15,000. And both programs, you're provided with a mentor for 2 years after disbursement to make sure that we're providing you supports not only on the front end with helping build out your business plan and financial forecasts, but also on the back end to make sure that you're supported as a new entrepreneur with a mentor for 2 years after disbursement. So in a nutshell, that's what I do. But yeah, it's such a pleasure to work with, the future of Indigenous entrepreneurship across the prairies and the north.
Right. Fantastic. You said everything all in that. So nicely done. I love that you're from Manitoba. So people probably know you and know your family. What's the most common thing that you hear?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you go to any community, it's always the same thing. Who's your dad? Who's your mom? Who's your grandma? Who's your cookum and mushum? But yeah, so my home community is Peguis First Nation in the Interlake region of Manitoba, and my grandparents are Frank and Florence Wilson, and actually they were entrepreneurs themselves, launching Pinecone Dairy Bar in Peguis. So I grew up. My grandparents' house was right beside the dairy bar called Pinecone. If you're from Peguis or pass through, you know what I'm talking about. And yeah, grew up visiting my grandparents and watching them being entrepreneurs, and never really knew the significance of it until I became older and started working in entrepreneurship.
So exciting. So I love that when people reach out to you, so Indigenous entrepreneurs with that concept idea, or so say that again, where in their idea should they be when they're reaching out to you?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah. So Futurepreneur, we work with entrepreneurs on a spectrum, right? And entrepreneurs come to us at various stages. So we work with entrepreneurs all the way from ideation stage, where they have an idea, they have a passion, they have the background and expertise to deliver on a product or service. And they have the dream to make it happen, but they just don't know where to start, right? So we're a good starting point to help you navigate what we'd like to call the ecosystem of supports for Indigenous business development, and we help you get to that market research validation stage, which is just a fancy way of saying you're testing out the feasibility of your business, meaning you're just going out there and doing it. If you have a passion for creating ribbon skirts, maybe you go to a powwow and you start testing out sales, and you say, hey, maybe I can actually make a side hustle out of this, or maybe even a full-time startup. And maybe there's some pieces that you're missing to make that happen. You want to start reaching out to Futurepreneur anywhere in the stages of ideation all the way to launch, where you've launched and you can't access traditional financing because you don't have enough history yet, and you feel like you're in a catch-22. Well, we can support you and be one of those first lenders to provide you with a business startup loan to help you get the equipment you need to take things on full-time, or to really refine your side hustle and get the pieces of equipment you need. So whatever, if you come up to it in the ideation stage, you might not be ready for financing, but we can help you understand the steps you need to take to get there. If you're ready to just get equipment, get the things you need to get the business off the ground or to the next stage of its life cycle, then definitely come work with us. And regardless, we're going to point you in the right direction. That's what I always say. Whether you go through Futurepreneurs program or not, my goal is to support Indigenous entrepreneurs, and I'm connected with the broader ecosystem that are all here to help you navigate that treacherous journey and sometimes scary journey, or I'd say most times, if not always, scary. So
right, yeah. Sometimes it's just like easy flowing, but there's so much that comes with entrepreneurship. There's like testing out your idea and actually doing it. So I like that you said, like, if you're making ribbon skirts, like go to the powwow, sell the skirts. Yeah. Like really just get started. And there's also such a mindset around entrepreneurship. So some people, it's like, it's so easy breezy. And other people, it's like learning to ride a bike or learning to do something all over again. And there's so much mindset work. So like, what is the networking like, or the conversation like for new entrepreneurs when they're like, I have this amazing idea and I'm pretty, like, I've sold it. I know this can work, but it's scary. It's scary. Yeah. Like, what do I do?
What do I do? You know what? That is 100% normal. And what I always say too is, if you're scared about something or you feel fearful about something, it's usually about something that you care about. So that fear actually shows that you care about something, right? If it was just something that was whatever to you, you wouldn't really be fearful of doing it, because the opportunity of actually, going forward with it is real. And that's what's scary about it. But what I always say to entrepreneurs is, whether you go through a process and get a loan with us to get startup capital to get your business off the ground and a mentor for 2 years, or you don't, we still would consider that a success, even if you don't, because the process of actually going through and working through your business idea, actually approaching the opportunity and understanding if it's viable, or if it can, be sustainable for you and your family, you're never going to look back and say, what if? And I think that's what's really powerful about the process. You always think back to your life, oh, what if I just looked into that? And that's what I say. We can look into it, and it's okay if it's not the right business for you to launch. It's okay not to be, an entrepreneur, right? But you're going to go through the process and learn a lot. And you can say at the end of it, well, you know what? I looked at that problem. I looked at that opportunity, found out it wasn't for me, and I'm okay with that because I went through that process. So either way, definitions of success are different, but I would say, it's a success either way, because you've at least approached and observed the opportunity, and you're going to sleep better at night knowing that you did.
Totally. I love that. I love that you just shared the definitions of success. It's different to everyone. You have to figure it out for yourself. And I think that's helpful for people who are entrepreneurs, who aspire to be entrepreneurs. And also, like you said, people who are not, or if it just doesn't work out for you.
Yeah, actually, that's a great point. Not every business needs to be Elon Musk and Tesla, right? Like, we look at our communities across Turtle Island here, and there is so much opportunity for business creation. Any goods or services that you see is missing in your community, that's an opportunity to launch a business. That's an opportunity to be, for a First Nation government to procure maybe your business someday to provide that service, which I think is super important. Also, one thing I wanted to mention is we do support with acquisitions. You don't always need to build a business from ground up. I think when you look at the economic trends right now and just the demographic trends, a lot of the baby boomer generation are retiring, and there's businesses coming up for sale, and you can look at acquiring those businesses and the existing structures and know-how, and we can also support you with that along with the other ecosystem around.
That's so cool. I love that. I love the service that's offered. It makes me think about this post that I shared recently on my Instagram. It was, there are people who are less qualified than you doing things that you want to do simply because they believed in themselves. And so that was true. Something that I had heard, 15, 20 years ago. But it was one of those phrases that really put a fire under me, that made me think, you know what, you're right. And if they can do it, I can do it. And sometimes we just need that little internal push to have the faith in ourselves to even just call out and have a conversation.
Yeah. There's that saying, shout out to Office, but also shout out to Wayne Gretzky. You know, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right?
Yeah.
Michael Scott / Wayne Gretzky. But yeah, you really miss 100% of the shots you don't take, and you know, look into it. What's the worst that could happen? You learn a little bit more about how to launch a business, and you decide that it's not right for you. Then that's totally okay, and that's nothing to be, you know, ashamed of. That in fact, that's something that you can lay your head at night knowing that you looked at that opportunity and you saw it through, whether it was something you wanted to pursue or not.
So what happens when someone reaches out to you? Do they fill out a form online, or like what's the best way?
Great question. So if you go to futurepreneur.ca, so that's FUTURPRENEAUR. I'm doubting that you're probably being able to write that down, but if you type in even Indigenous Entrepreneurship Financing, or if you type in Futurepreneur, however you want to sound it, or Noah Wilson, you'll be able to find the Futurepreneur website. And the best way is to go to register as an entrepreneur. Make sure you self-identify, because we have dedicated teams like our Indigenous Entrepreneur Startup Program team that understand the nuances and challenges of Indigenous entrepreneurship. We also have a Black entrepreneur startup team. We also have a team, you know, a broader team that supports, you know, all people from all different backgrounds for Futurepreneur. But we do want to make sure we have dedicated teams for those, you know, equity deserving groups that have nuanced problems, and we understand those problems. But go to the Futurepreneur website, register as an entrepreneur. We'll reach out to you at that point. Whether you consider yourself an entrepreneur or not, just put your hat in the ring. We'll reach out, we'll talk through it and see if it's the right fit. And one thing about me is sometime an entrepreneur will reach out. I'll give them kind of the information, and I won't hear back from them, but I'll hear back from them a year later, and they're ready to go.
Nice.
So that's happened multiple times.
So that's just like dipping your toe in the water.
Yeah.
It's just like, I'm just going to put my name
Plant
here.
the seed.
Yeah, and then Noah will know who I am when I call him back in a year when I'm ready. Because that could be scary. That could be intimidating, especially when you talk about lenders.
Yes.
Right? Because Indigenous people, like a lot of us, and I mean, speaking from my own experience, I don't have entrepreneurs in my family. I don't have a lot of people who are aware of, you know, the resources that are required to start a business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and even if you do know the resources, it's like, where do you start in resource? Like, which resource do you go to first? So when do you go, then when, right? So working with Futurepreneur and working with myself, I can help you navigate the ecosystem, at least give you a lay of the land, and being in a lending position, and we want to make sure that we provide services through our Indigenous Entrepreneur Startup Program that helps reduce that intimidation by having folks like myself who are from an Indigenous background, who understand the nuances of those challenges. So we don't have to spend the first 10 minutes or 15 minutes educating each other. We can move towards, what are the solutions? What can I do for you? Because we have that mutual understanding and lived experience. So
if you're 39 and under, and if you have a business idea, and if it gets you excited at all, then you need to reach out to Noah Wilson, Futurepreneur Business Development Manager. Thanks so much for being here, Noah.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate it. And don't be shy, everyone. Remember, you miss 100% of shots you don't take. So
yes, thank you. Talk to you soon.
Right on.
Thank you so much for your time. Miigwech ekose merci. Get in touch with me on Instagram or my website at jessicadumas.ca.